are we?
The computer says Detroit.
You dumbass, I told you not to play around Uranus.
Heavens to Megatroid. Don't get out of the ship.
The rear thruster is out. It appears we're trapped in Detroit.
Perhaps you should call the Detroit police.
An excellent idea. I believe I have service. 911.
You've reached the Detroit Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911.
These human beings are devious.
It appears someone is scrapping our aluminum panel.
You've reached the Detroit Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911.
Hey brothers, you've been traveling a lot? You look like you need your windows cleaned.
No, get away from the windshield. We don't have any cash.
Yes, come on, brother. You're making it worse. You're fucking it all up.
Where the fuck are the police?
You've reached the Detroit Police Department. If this is an emergency, please hang up and dial 911.
Live from downtown Detroit, it's No BS News Hour with my main man, Charlie LeDuff.
Na.
No bullshit!
This just did breaking news. No more bullshit. No more bullshit.
Well, we're gonna have to fix that in post, Mark.
What happened?
Still at Disney World, are we?
My mind is.
Oh, boy. All right.
What did I do wrong?
I don't know. You've been in here all morning. We didn't have the telephone ringing bit in there. We didn't have the foghorn going on.
I did fix something.
Like normal.
Like normal.
Like normal.
Nobody notices out there, but we're trying to perfect
Until
it.
you point it out.
Because
Jeez.
you've got nothing else but us. It went silent.
That's not bad.
The media is shit. Shit. See, what Mark was doing was he was looking for an end to this shit. It's Monday, right? We keep it light, but it's not light. We got crime in the city, crime on the border, and we're looking for something funny like fashion crime. So Mark's going to fucking Cosmopolitan looking for bad outfits, and we didn't find any.
The crime is none of them have any style.
But that's a matter of opinion, Red.
Okay, well,
That's okay.
I don't think tying tablecloths and bandanas together is making a dress. I'm just sorry.
Yeah, but it looks good.
I was looking for like mushroom tops coming out of the spandex, like that.
Oh, you talking about muffin
But
tops
that,
and
see, that's not
Stains on
fashion.
the ass.
That's not fashion. That's just poor taste.
Okay, well, that's what we were looking for.
Well, you don't have to look that far.
No, but Mark was over there looking at him.
Maybe. I don't know.
He was enjoying.
Is that why
it,
I was
though.
late?
if you wanted to see that, you should have just came downtown this weekend.
I'll tell
It's 80
you
degrees.
about downtown before we get going. Okay, my favorite place downtown is American Coney Island.
For sure.
I'm gonna do something new now. I'm gonna tell you like what we don't tell you about, like nice tasty food bits. You know they got the best salads in the city here. Did you know that? Green, like romaine lettuce. You know, Red.
Yeah, fresh, made every day.
No,
fresh.
there's never a brown piece on it. Crispy. Those tomatoes are fresh and taste. They don't taste like cardboard.
Me, myself, I don't eat healthy at all, but it looks beautiful, fresh. I watch it be prepared.
Yeah, like medallion onions if you want on it. I
Yeah.
get the gyro meat, Chicago style. Like those little secrets. Well, Kirby likes the wings.
Yes, she loves the wings. Wings are good though, but the food is good.
Yeah, it is.
That's the thing. The food is good, and it's a rarity to find some place where everything is good, but the cheesecake is good too. So the dessert. So let's not forget.
I was going to do that next week.
Sorry, Charlie.
Those are made fresh in Detroit. The coconut cream is my favorite.
I haven't had that one.
Yeah,
Mine is the lemon meringue.
Yeah. See, look at that. The cherry cheesecake.
And they're all healthy.
Think about that.
And most importantly, clean.
Oh yeah.
Just have to say that.
And don't forget to tip the help, right, Red?
And of course.
Tip the help generously.
Please, I want to move out to Normandy eventually.
Give us a 2-on-1. Give us your call. Give us your signature floor call.
Signature floor.
Oh,
201.
come on, you're killing the timing.
Let me get 201 and a fry.
better than that. You got to come down and see it. It's at Michigan and Lafayette, American Coney Island, our favorite place.
And can I say something else, Charlie?
We're going to prolong this commercial?
Yes. I mean, because I'm a stickler for customer service, whether I'm in a 5-star restaurant, whether I'm in a Coney Island. Okay, I'm going to hurry up. But I just have to say, I mean, there was a young man in there today, and I did not know who he was. He didn't know me when I walked in.
That special Steve.
But he was very nice. He was professional. He was courteous. And I appreciate that. You know, he said, "Good morning, ladies." He says, "How are you today?" He says, "Are you dining in?" Don't rush me, Charlie. It's Monday. He said, "Or are you dining in?" Or are you carry on? I'm saying I appreciate that.
Do you know Steve's on the spectrum?
We all are.
That's true.
And on his last warning, so he hadn't been that nice to everybody before. So you caught him on his last warning.
But he probably did.
I'm just teasing.
Oh, okay. No, I appreciate. I'm just saying I appreciate that.
Red.
I do. So, yep.
Calvin, it's a zoo down here, man.
No, it's really nice.
It's a great place. It is.
No, it's not a zoo up here. It's an insane asylum up here.
Yeah. Listen. Okay. So coming up in the program is America's baddest reporter on La Frontera is Pancho Ortiz with Breitbart. A big announcement, big bust on the Sinaloa cartel. We'll dig into that. Spoiler alert, it's bullshit. It's bullshit. These politicians have no answers to anything. No, it's all fucking theater. Nothing's working, right? I'll give the Democrats some. They got a PR machine, man. They just talk dumb shit, and the Republicans got nothing. Just nothing. And it's all falling apart. Anybody disagree with that?
Nope, not at all.
The whole fucking country knows this.
Not at all.
All right, but we want to start with Detroit, close to home this weekend. There were two mass shootings. One on Thursday. Okay, a pizza gets delivered to the wrong house, and they take it, and they eat it, and then the neighbors realize the pizza got eaten, and they went over and had some confrontation, and 1 dead, 2 kids shot, 5 in total.
That's crazy.
You don't really hear anything about it.
Nope.
I hear more about what's going on in Louisville, in Detroit, than what's going on in Detroit.
Yeah.
What the fuck is wrong with everybody? Stop being in the pockets of this administration that gets absolutely nothing accomplished.
And that's what it is, Charlie. And that's what people need to understand. It's like when these things happen and they counter the narrative they want you to believe about this city, then you don't hear anything about it. So
let me give you part 2.
Okay.
Greektown. It's 2 blocks. Greektown is the oldest entertainment district in Detroit. 2 blocks.
And used to be the safest place in the city.
Yeah, it's when the Greeks were hanging out there.
Once upon a time.
2 blocks. On Friday night, we have 2 guys getting a beef. One throws a drink in a guy's face. The other guy blasts him. Another guy with him gets blasted. 2 innocents get blasted. The blasters run into the parking garage of the casino, and the cops put one in him, and you don't hear anything. And that's Orthodox Greek Friday. Then the next night, guy walks into the liquor store at the end of Greektown. He don't want to stand in line. And this is from my police sources. Security guy asks him, "Hey, man, you got to stand in line." He goes, "Man, that's disrespecting me, making me stand behind a white man." So he turns and shoots the beloved longtime security guard dead with the cops right out there. Right?
Yep, right outside.
There's 2 more shootings on Randolph and 2 more on the riverfront, the best in America, and nothing. So let me bring in John, the Detroit scanner. John likes to remain incognito because. Former law enforcement, et cetera, et cetera. What's going on, Johnny?
Hey guys, how you doing?
Real good, man.
I just want to correct you on one thing.
Okay.
You did hear about it. You heard about it on my site, which is on Facebook, the Detroit Scanner.
Exactly, dude.
I reported on that when it happened, so I just want you to let you know. And another thing, I want to mention the gentleman's name.
Please do.
In Greektown that was murdered. Okay, on Saturday night. His name is Daryl Strotter, known as Big D. He works self-employed in security there. Has for 20 years. He's a big man. He was a huge man in stature and in heart. Okay? If anybody ever needed help, he was always there. As a matter of fact, in 2012, when one of our officers was killed down there, Chuck Armour, he was the one that pulled out the guy out of the car and showed him what for until police arrived. So what has happened is that murderous bastard not only took the life of a fine, fine man, he also took a bit of Greektown soul with him. So I just want everybody to know his name, Daryl Strotter. Please don't forget him. Anyway.
We're just giving a moment here, man. Because Daryl's one of the good ones.
He was.
That's like the solution.
Outstanding, man.
So he's private security. So what's private security supposed? What's private? Look, dude, Detroit Scanner. Like, do you make money, or do you just do it because it's a community service?
No, I don't make any money. I have some followers who donate to my site, which is great, and I appreciate it. It's a very small handful of them, but no, I don't make any money on this.
Go ahead, put
I don't have a monetized
out.
Site or anything like that. No.
Put it out where people could donate. Hey, John, put it out where people could donate, and I'm going to explain why they should.
It'll be 10 years in May, so that's nice. Anyway, no, I have it's on my website. If people want to donate through Amazon, through gift certificates, buying me coffee to keep me awake doing this, that's it. I don't have a PayPal account anymore. I'm going to here soon, but it's going to go to our 501c3 or wildlife rehab outfit, so it's going to be tax deductible and stuff like that. But the money won't be going to me; it'll be going to the nonprofit. So
look at that. Okay, the reason that you should is because without this guy, we don't have a fucking clue what's going on in the darkness, true. Right? Yeah. Detroit is the only big city department that I know of that doesn't, or the media, local media, that doesn't keep track of crime and put out a police blotter. Quickly, somebody go online and tell me how many homicides, right, has Detroit suffered this year. You will not find it. You will find it in Chicago, Philadelphia, New York, but John's it. John, how bloody was this weekend?
Well, by my count, when I was on, and from Friday through Sunday, there were, by my count, this is absolutely not official, but I counted 20 shootings. And 4 of those were fatal, of course, that we know about already. Now, if there anybody else died in the hospital after they were conveyed by Detroit EMS, I don't know. But there was quite a few. And a friend of mine who was on, well, I shouldn't say that. A friend of mine who was in the mix said it was about 28 shootings from Friday to Sunday. And then that's quite a bit. I mean, that's quite a bit.
And the police aren't telling us, the media is reporting like, at least. That's not good enough to solve the problems. You didn't even add in Thursday the pizza caper. Mm-hmm. So now you're in your 30s.
Was different. Yeah.
Let me give you some comparison here. In Chicago from Friday through Sunday, 8 were murdered and 24 others were shot. So we tie Chicago, which is 4 times bigger
per capita,
and not a word. Mm-hmm. And why is that? Fuck the media. You're buying into this mayor who does nothing, right? Whatever he says, you repeat. We're talking about, the billionaires are going to get some money to build shit, and yet there are not enough cops currently. There's no ideas. The mayor doesn't show up to the crime scene. What mayor doesn't show up to the crime scene?
Or say something the day after. He hasn't said a word, not just this time, but for all of these things. Yeah. Any other time, people would be calling for him to say something. The media would be like, well, what does the mayor think about this? Or what is he going to do? What's the plan? Where's the press conference?
Leadership.
Nothing, exactly, but nothing.
And I'm going to be honest, the response that we have heard, I just think is throwing something out there, because enforcing a minor curfew is not going to solve
but let me tell you what somebody told me, and this is somebody that works with that young people out in the street and in the neighborhoods. They said the minute that they announced just out of the blue that they were going to start enforcing the curfew, then they said, okay, so now we got a timeline. Now let's go down there before the curfew kicks in, right? Which was counterproductive.
So what time was the security guard shot? 8:30?
Which was before.
It doesn't even matter.
Yep.
John, you've been doing this like a long time. Are you?
Right.
Here's what I know. There's 400 vacancies in the police department. Murder's up about 20% this year. There's no increase in the police budget for next year when you take inflation into account. What's the solution, John, if those are the numbers?
The solution is to start prosecuting the laws. This is what has to happen. I mean, when you get guys going through the DDC, the Detroit Detention Center, constantly back and forth, it's like a revolving door. Talk to some of the guys over at the DDC someday. It's just constant. No one's being prosecuted, okay? They're just brought in, processed, and then let out again. No one is getting prosecuted, and that's the problem, okay? If you want to enforce this curfew, you take those kids who are not going to listen to you anyway, and you throw them in the sandbox for a few days when they're their first time they get caught, over at the juvenile detention facility. Start enforcing the laws. Get the liquor off the streets. Get the dope off the streets in Greektown. I'm talking about Greektown for the moment, but, start enforcing the laws. The cops don't have time to do everything there. They're running from, shot fired call, shot spotters, fights, drunk people in the streets and stuff like that all night long in Greektown. Well, they got to get those people off the street, so start taking them in. And when they get taken off the street and they're, sent in there for their date or whatever, make sure you prosecute these people.
Yeah, you know what? We both know these cops down there. And, you want to know what? I'm not enforcing that weed. You know why? I don't got time. It's a misdemeanor. I got to take the weed. I got to write the ticket. The open liquor being served by the bars there is a fucking absurd. So the police are waiting for the shots. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. Like, here's one for you, Mayor. Jesus Christ. It's the center of the city, which tells you what's going on in the city. Why isn't Greektown cordoned off, no traffic, some cops in the parking garage, metal detectors like they got at Fremont Street in Vegas? You must show ID. No weed, no liquor. Now you can disperse the cops instead of having them standing there waiting for somebody to get dropped.
Listen, this is a perfect opportunity for someone inside the DPD to be proactive, okay? It's a perfect opportunity for a good mind out there in the DPD to start coming up with some answers, okay? Obviously, maybe they're doing it. I don't know. But it's got to stop. Saturday night was insane. Absolutely fucking insane. And it hasn't been like that in a very long... As a matter of fact, I can't remember the last time downtown was like that. I mean, during Christmas and things like that, we had a couple people shot. But, from Greektown to Cadillac Square to the Riverwalk, give me a flipping break. It's not the cops' fault. There were tons of cops down there, but the people, they don't give a shit. And they're committing the crimes because they're not getting goddamn prosecuted. Sorry, but to me, that's fucking common sense.
We got new gun laws. How about the old gun laws? Again, zero tolerance for guns. Like weed, I could give a shit.
The
liquor.
Criminals don't care.
No, they don't.
Zero tolerance for the
criminals
guns.
Don't care about your laws. Prosecute them when they break them. The only people that care about your laws are the law-abiding citizens in Detroit, which there are a hell of a lot more than there are criminals in Detroit. I mean, there's a population of, 600,000? If 600,000 people in Detroit were committing crimes, we'd all be dead. It's a small minority of people. Target those people. Target the gangs, target the idiots, and get the mentally ill off the street. I mean, that's too much for right now, but prosecute.
Well, like selective prosecution. I mean, locking them up, we learned in this country doesn't work, but it's got to be
off the street.
It got to be zero tolerance for the gun. Now, we'd love to hear from you. Leave your comments, right? Like or subscribe and click on the notification bell when the shows come on. But we'd love to hear from you. Let us know what you think, because we're all doing this and we're not getting anything. No, Red would tell me before the show, he's like, well, where these cops coming from? What'd you say, Red?
I basically said what they enforcing this curfew is one, to me, going to be impossible.
Forget the fucking curfew.
Where are they going to get the resources? They going to have to pull from the neighborhood.
You mean the police?
The police. Once they pull from the neighborhoods, now, and you get them to disperse from down there, what happens? They all go back out in the neighborhoods, which is short on police already.
But you have to look at the bigger picture. One, police, like Charlie said, there are 400 vacancies. people don't want to be police officers anymore. People are also apprehensive about living in the city. That's another thing. We talked about residency. I know that's long gone, but that too made a difference. We talked about. I think it did. We talked about.
But you thinking it doesn't mean that's the answer.
And you not thinking it doesn't think that it's not.
No, I got the statistics.
Charlie, I'm telling you right now that police officers, and I don't want to get off track, but police officers living in the neighborhoods do make a difference. I mean, when
the cops lived in this city, the murder rate was the same.
But they weren't really living here. They lived in Copper Canyon.
So then you have no basis for that.
But if you have a city, Charlie, where the quality of life is okay.
But again, it's data. Data.
I understand, but
not your gut.
But my thing is that if you have a city where there's a quality of life where the people who are getting their paychecks from here live here and have a vested interest in here,
doing it again.
It's different.
Okay, but you still can't offer any data. That's really not the problem.
Okay.
And then Red's saying, well, it takes it from the neighborhood.
Okay, what is it?
I want the police. Here's modern policing.
Okay.
You put it on a computer. Where's the crime happening? That's where you put the police.
Charlie.
Excuse me. When the crime is going down in the center of your city, when you have a mass shooting 2 blocks from City Hall, that's where your police need to be.
But their police officers were right outside the store where the guy got shot. There
Bam!
were 2 offers standing right there. So that didn't do anything either.
Now we got to keep going.
But let me say this.
Wait, I was saying it.
Okay, all right.
So maybe we got to shut down Greektown.
Maybe
we need to fucking stop giving all my goddamn taxpayer dollars away to these some bitches building bullshit that ain't bringing my city fucking revenue. Get more officers, hit this shit in the streets, prosecute like fucking John said. That's the fucking answer. We don't have the resources. We ain't got the manpower. And they keep throwing us bullshit. I'm just so fucking... I've been in the city my whole life. Crime is in the neighborhoods every fucking day. Yes, I want my downtown to be safe. Yes, come up with an answer. But quit playing one side short to cover another side. It's been 2 cities and one in this bitch since I was a kid. And it's the same fucking bullshit and it's getting worse. I'm sorry.
Amen.
That's more like it.
Fuck.
Amen.
That's more like it. That's just the fucking fact, man. I've been back here since 2008. Round and round and round. Murder's up 20%. John's up later than ever. Nothing. It's fake. What about all this fake Biden money? Why is that going to these billionaires?
But not only that, Charlie, but we talk about, police officers, but we also, John mentioned mental health. We talk about wraparound services. We have 70,000 nonprofit organizations that are supposed to be addressing these issues. At some point, you'd think there would be a difference. The needle would move, and it hasn't.
You know why? Because something's going really bad in America where everybody with the suit gets in line and parrots the fucking script. Mm-hmm. Right? Everybody getting a little taste and nothing changes.
Happens. You're right.
Again, we got new gun laws, but the old gun laws, like John's saying, aren't enforced. Bullshit.
But people want to feel good and they're not looking for any degree of accountability to make things happen. So, somebody, we get a mural on a wall and name a street after somebody in this city and everybody's happy. That doesn't change the quality of life or any of the issues that we're trying to address.
I am not going to Greektown. And I love Greektown. I am not going. I'm not. Just not going to be part of it.
I'm going to say this as somebody who's out here on the nightlife because I entertain, I'm in clubs, I've been in some of the worst rat holes to some of the nicest places. And it really don't matter. Crime is there. It's been there. It's going to stay there. When you don't see police patrolling, when you don't see presence, when you don't see the laws getting enforced, what happens is it just stay the fucking same. So it don't matter whether I go to Greektown or I go to the west side or I go to the east side. I'm doing the show. A shooting can happen at any given moment. Why? Because there is no presence in the neighborhoods for real.
400 vacancies. John, what's the population of the Detroit Police Force as we know it now?
God, well, it changes so often now. It just so many people are lateraling out of the department, going to other agencies. Now they're offering 1 day interviews to where they do everything in one day, and I think they've even cut down the amount of time they spend at the academy. So I it's changing so often. I don't know, but obviously there's not enough. I mean, 400 vacancies. You know what I would take? I would fill 1,000 vacancies in Detroit.
That's
because
probably 20% of the department.
They have to be out in the neighborhood, okay? And when they're in the city, I mean, there's enough cops in the city. We saw what happened this weekend. Karen mentioned it. They shot the guy. People were there, cops on every corner. But they got to be out in the neighborhoods because these criminals are coming from the neighborhoods, okay? Hire your police officers. Don't make it so that your quality of officer is going to be lower than it should be. Mm-hmm. And that's what I believe is happening right now. They're just not taking the cream of the crop. No, you know what? I don't want to say that either because there's some great kids coming into law enforcement these days. I mean, they're brave kids.
No,
because this is a bad time to be in law. I joined law enforcement in 1984. Okay, and it was different then.
Yeah.
But now it's difficult finding qualified applicants to get into the departments. Okay, some agencies are having better luck than others. Detroit, not so much.
They're
constantly throwing recruiting things out there.
And nobody wants anybody to police. So talking to the police in Greektown, I'm not good. Look, there's a whole crowd of dudes starting to get rowdy, drinking, smoking the blunt. I ain't fucking with them. But that's what you're getting.
I was going to say that too, Charlie, especially in the neighborhoods. When John was saying, people, the officers need to be back in the neighborhoods. You don't need police officers in a neighborhood when they don't have any concern. They don't establish a rapport with the people in the neighborhood. That also makes a difference. So it's not. I'm sorry. Go ahead, John.
The MPOs are in the neighborhood. The neighborhood police officers, quite a few of them, and they're doing a pretty damn good job, to be quite honest with you. I have no beef with the Detroit Police Department whatsoever. They're hardworking and everything out, and the MPOs out there in the neighborhoods are actually doing their jobs. They just need more of them.
They need more.
John, you got to flood the streets.
They need strategy, and they need direction from the top.
That's true.
When you have 2 mass shootings, you guys go to what is that website?
The Washington Post.
No, not the Washington Post. It's the Gun Violence Project.
Yeah.
Just go on there, and you got two in Detroit, and not a word from the media really. The only reason they got curious is because they heard about the curfew. Right. Because the chief put out a statement. The way I was hearing about it was through John, and you still don't have a total of what happened this weekend. The mayor's not out there. There's no message from the top. There's a zero tolerance policy. It's out of control. And it's time for a change. And this mayor, he's going to try to run for governor. The governor's going to try to run for the president. And the attorney general's a joke. And nobody's holding anybody to account. And there's not one fucking Republican that has any idea about an urban policy whatsoever except a bitch. And then to, take your piece. They're all high priests of the uniparty. There's one party that's the fucking oligarchs, the elite. And then there's us. And we're busy bitching at each other.
But and I agree with John, and I want to make it clear, too, that this isn't criticizing the officers that are on the street at all.
Right.
Because before, when we had an issue and we were talking, people have to understand this department responds to direction from the mayor. So it all starts and stops at the top. The lack of direction,
Where are you, Mike?
The resources.
Where are you, Mike?
I don't care if you like this chief or not. He is following directions of his boss, who is the mayor.
Everybody knows how many big cities in this country I worked in. Any shit like this goes down, you always see the mayor. Yeah. Even in Chicago, Lori Lightfoot is out. You hear from her.
Well,
Instantly.
You should.
Instantly.
If nothing else, it lets the residents know that you realize there's a problem, that you have a concern, it's on your radar, and you're going to at least pretend to address it. He said, to hell with it. I'm not going to even act like I care.
We're going to give billionaires money.
Yeah.
And we are giving them money. I did that this weekend. Oh, they're getting cash, Mike. So be quiet. They're getting cash payments for the brownfield. They're getting cash from the income tax that they're paying somewhere else. This is nonsense. It's not a discount. This is giving it away. Go on, John.
We're talking about the crime and the police and everything. And remember, when we're talking crime like this, we're talking reactive, okay? Mm-hmm. Now, there are programs out there, people out there trying to keep this stuff from happening before it happens, but this is all reactive. I'm not a sociologist. Karen, you're probably much better versed on this than I am, but it's a societal problem. It's a community problem. There's problems in the home that have to be addressed eventually.
Yep.
I don't know when. But as far as I'm concerned, most of the stuff we're talking about right now is reactionary. Mm-hmm. We're reacting to the shootings. We're going to the mental health issue people, stuff like that. It's all reactive.
Which goes back to we don't have no money to put into those things that would help contribute to lowering it because they giving it all away and they shortcutting. Yeah. Look at the recreation centers in the city.
They're putting money in them.
Yeah, but they only got one or two. They're not putting other programs out.
But it has to be it has to be comprehensive. You can't sit back and throw a dart at one thing and expect it to address a problem that's a multi-pronged problem.
Right.
Well, that's the long term. Yeah. That's the long term.
Well, the first thing is to say something and acknowledge it. I mean,
and have a strategy.
Period.
Number one, end of discussion. The gun laws, the guns. Everybody agrees there's too many assholes running around with guns, and every time we pick them up, it gets plea bargain down to attempt to carry a concealed weapon. What do you mean attempt to carry a concealed weapon? That's not the proper charge.
Right.
But they're doing it all the time. We can go to the county executive. Warren Evans, where the fuck are you? Biden sent you $200 million. Kim Worthy been on this program. Where's the funding for the courts and the prosecutor? There
you go.
Garbage. Here, Westland gets a park. Livonia gets a greenway. Garbage. That's not what we need.
We don't need it here either. That's the thing. I've driven past two of the new basketball courts that the mayor made a big deal about. Every time I drive by, they're empty. They're empty. So, but you got to understand the people and the problem you're trying to solve. You can't do it from
Where's the bus terminal? Where's the fucking bus terminal? Where is anything? I'm not buying it. We're correct on this program.
Yeah.
Right? This is the first time I think you're hearing since Thursday anybody say we got a really bad problem.
Yeah, that's true.
And nobody knows better than the police, of course, the people that live here, but John. John's the only guy tracking it. I wish we would all donate to John because John will get a website like private entities are doing in Philly, Baltimore. The press do it. The press keep track because they don't trust the police numbers. In this town, there's no police blotter. They're hiding it. And you want to be my fucking governor.
So, John, do you have a donate button on your website? And if so, what's your website? He does not.
No.
Okay.
Well,
he wants to give it to dogs.
My website is DetroitScanner.com, and there is a thing on there. It's just donations through like Amazon, things like that, gift certificates, so I can continue keeping this stuff up to date. I work for computers and all this kind of stuff, and scanners and things like that. So, but listen, honestly. It's all very nice. Donations are nice and everything like that. But that's not the point of my site. The point of my site is to try to keep people informed of what's going on in their city because they're not getting it from the local media for the most part. Some of it, not all of it. I mean, there are good reporters in the media. There are bad reporters. There are horrible places in the media right now. But, that's all I do is I just keep people informed. I make people chuckle every once in a while because I'm an idiot and I like to write stupid things. But, that's my focus is just keeping people informed. Donations, yeah, great. I love you. It's fantastic. Keeps content creators like me going, but it's not the focus.
It's not your mission. I know, but like everybody gets burned out. So what we can do,
but it's information that we should be getting from other sources, and we're not, and so we might as well.
Because at the highest levels of these media concerns, they want to ignore it, and everybody wants a nice story, and it's way easier. But this is the reality. The reality of what's going on in the United States. We're not alone. Louisville had a couple of mass shootings last week, but none of them are on the riverfront where the social areas, where the bars are, because they're heavily policed. Right? It happens in the neighborhoods.
Yeah.
Here it happens everywhere.
On the Riverwalk, and I don't. That's just it. You see, these people know they can get away with this shit. They can do these crimes and not get prosecuted, or when they do get prosecuted, it's little time and it's not a big deal. They can take care of it. But God, in the Riverwalk, Cadillac Square. Right in front of Greektown?
One of the gunmen this weekend in Greektown is a recent parolee with prior weapons charges. And the other guy, the other murderer, he was wanted in an earlier murder for 2 weeks ago. They were tailing him, but couldn't get him. They got him after he committed a murder. This is what we got.
So there's no penalty for their behavior, and they know it.
No, there hasn't been. There hasn't been.
Period.
They're not getting prosecuted.
Period. We got cases moldering 3 years. All right, look. Let's stay on the line, John, because I want to bring in Pancho Ortiz to talk about what's going on the southern border. We're the northern border, but if there's a place that's buck wild, it's the southern border. Hold on for me, Pancho. Pancho, brought to you by XG Service Group. They are experts in security cameras. Hello. Hidden cameras, access control, Wi-Fi design and installation, drive-through systems, construction cameras, the whole lot. Anything IT. You call Matt Yaskovitz at XG Service Group, 734-245-4100. And also, ADR experience, overseeing $250 million in projects, shot spotters, cameras, right? The whole nine, cutting through red tape because this town is so full of red tape. Hey, by the way, Mike, Mr. Mayor, I know the feds have issued more subpoenas on that dirt. More. So what are we going to do? This thing's going to bleed out. It's going to bleed out till you run for governor and it disappears. But they're here. I'm not forgetting it. Now, if you need somebody competent to handle your demolition and your dirt, you call ADR, Barry Ellentuck, 248-318-9424. Get it done now and get it done right. Pancho Ortiz, he's the baddest motherfucker on the border. He writes for Breitbart. He covers the cartels, the whole thing on both sides of the border. What's up, Pancho?
How you doing, Charlie? Thanks for having me.
What would you think of that? What'd you think of our dreamy little town up here, man?
Wow, it sounds very similar to some of the stuff that I encounter in Mexico. The same response from politicians. Things are great. Nothing bad's happening. They turn a blind eye to mayhem, violence, and just craziness that goes on. And sadly, mainstream media tends to do the same when it comes to a lot of this. We see it in Mexico. They try to say things are great. Everything's just, come visit. They don't want to scare away the tourists, even though there are parts of Mexico that are totally controlled by drug cartels. And it sounds something similar to what you guys are experiencing over there, where the mayor's turning a blind eye to very scary levels of crime.
That just reminded me of something before we get into like the news of last week. When we look at Matamoros, for instance, right? Four Americans are kidnapped mistakenly. 2 are dead, right? A faction, the Scorpions of the Gulf Cartel, murdered them. And instead of getting a crackdown on the Scorpions, on the cartel itself, the cartel binds 5 guys, throws them on the street and says, they did it. They weren't following orders. We're sorry. And that's it. Nobody went after the cartel. Is that correct?
Absolutely right. You're correct in there. And it has to do with, sadly, with corruption. The mayor's office in Matamoros is actually very close to the Gulf Cartel. I'll get into that in a second. But now the governor's office, they had some campaign money that went into, the Gulf Cartel basically helped their campaign. We reported on that extensively. So the governor is from the same party as the current Mexican president, AMLO. They're both from the Morena party. So all they care about is saying things are great, nothing bad is happening. And when this case happened in Matamoros, it basically created a media storm. It created a political storm. There was pressure on the U.S., from the U.S. into Mexico. So the president sent out 300 soldiers into Matamoros, police officers, basically trying to make it seem like they were doing something. But in reality, the only people that were actually arrested were the ones that the Gulf Cartel cuffed up. Now, one of the things that we ended up uncovering was that the head of the Civil Protection Department, which would be kind of like your EMS and fire department, the head of that department in Matamoros was actually a gunman for the Gulf Cartel that went to prison in 2010 for actually leading a kidnapping cell in Tamaulipas. So we unmasked this guy. He got out of prison. He got his job there at the city. And what he did is when they were moving these 4 Americans, when they were moving them inside the city, they were using the ambulances from the city of Matamoros.
Oh. I hadn't heard that. Whoa. Serious? And what is the response from Washington, man? Is this good enough?
From Washington, nothing. But actually, it's kind of funny. But a day after we published that expose, about this individual and his role with the ambulances, he was fired. And then 2 other officials within his office actually are under investigation. Hopefully, something comes out of that. But even it got to the point where one of the city commissioners actually just went public in an interview and said, I have no ties to the cartels. Nobody had asked him, but he actually just went out and said, I'm not connected to organized crime. I have a clear criminal background, trying to wash his hands from all that mess.
Wow. So, again, before we get to the bigger news, you're talking about Mexico, but what about law enforcement on the American side? How extensively has the cartel penetrated local sheriffs, let's say?
Well, it's kind of a scary statistic, but in the 3 counties I'm in South Texas, so there's 3 counties where I'm at. It's Hidalgo, Cameron, and Starr. In those 3 counties, in the last 15 years, you have had 5 sheriffs go to prison for corruption and ties to one of the main drug cartels down here.
What? So the sheriffs who, nominally, they're responsible for the border as well. They're not border patrol. They're not federal agents, but they do a lot of work. On the border counties, they're working with the cartels, you're saying? 5 sheriffs.
5 sheriffs in the last 15 years have gone to prison. I'm talking about the elected sheriffs. They've gone to prison for working with drug cartels.
Wow. So let's get this back to Detroit for a minute. If you don't pay high-quality people a high-quality wage, what can we expect to happen here, Pancho?
Well, sadly, corruption, it affects them. That's one of the things in South Texas. Police officers in South Texas are paid very low wages. Some of the smaller cities, they're making $30,000, $20,000. So if somebody comes in and says, "Hey, I got 5 G's," if you just look the other way while I run my shipment through your town, it's a very sexy offer, and that's how a lot of these officers kind of end up falling into it. Now, in the case of the sheriffs, now we're talking about bigger dollar amounts, bigger bribes, but at the end of the day, all of this comes down to corruption.
Okay, now let's go to the news. Last Friday, in Washington, Attorney General Garland and everybody in the alphabet soup, the FBI, Homeland Security, DHS, DEA, DOJ, they all stood there and announced a 28-person indictment focusing on the Sinaloa cartel, which mainly produces the fentanyl and brings it in here, saying, the DEA administrator said, we penetrated the cartel at the highest levels. We chased them around the world, and 20 people are still at large. Now, it turns out everybody they announced an indictment on has already been indicted. Pancho, is this bullshit? Is this fake, a fugazi, or is this really the Biden administration's really penetrated the cartels and we're going to stop fentanyl?
No, actually, this is it's a media circus. Basically, all they did was throw out there a lot of names, people that will not be caught, or it's going to be very difficult to catch them. But here's the thing: not only catch them, but get them over here. So pretty much it's just random words thrown out, trying to make a show of something. Because one of the things is, what was missing from that news conference was that you didn't have anybody from Mexico's government there. If they had on this podium, the Mexican Marines, the Mexican military, or even the Attorney General from Mexico saying, we're going to work together and catch these guys and throw them over the fence, over the river, I would have been like, okay, that sounds interesting. But here it was all, charges on the U.S. The cartel bosses they're talking about, they live in Mexico. They're talking about Los Chapitos, the sons of El Chapo, Joaquin Guzman Loera. Well, his sons are happily living in Mexico. One of his sons, he was caught in Mexico. He's very successfully trying to fight his extradition. I mean, it's a very big if he's going to get extradited. And that's just it. It's taking a lot of effort to catch just one of them and to extradite him. All these other 28 individuals, they're probably just going to keep on, living in Mexico happily, working and retiring before any of this is done. Because we have to remember, drug cartels is not just, one big boss, say El Chapo and his gunmen. What really gives them their power is their influence. The politicians in Mexico that protect them, the bankers that move their money, the judges and the lawyers that, help them, protect them, and get them released. So since they're not touching any of those individuals that make up their true power, their true influence, nothing is going to change.
I just loved it. We've infiltrated at the highest levels. Let's just think about that for a minute. You just announced indictments. Oh, we've penetrated them for the last year and a half. Okay, well, that would mean that your assets, that the undercover DEA agents would be exposed. Like all of a sudden they're looking who the rat is. So that's all over if that was ever true. I doubt it was ever true because Lopez Obrador, the president, last year disbanded the joint task force, the FBI and the Mexican authorities on their narcotics. In 2020, he stripped American drug enforcement agents of their diplomatic immunity and required that any intelligence gathered by American law enforcement must be shared with Mexican intelligence. Correct, Pancho?
You're absolutely right.
So I doubt the DEA secretly infiltrated. It's drinking margaritas in Cancun with chapitos without the Mexicans knowing. It's bullshit, bro.
Well, so I did another deep dive into all this. So
that's why we got you here. Tell us.
So what actually happened is that they didn't have undercover agents infiltrate the cartel. They had informants. People that were caught in the U.S. that basically needed to reduce some of their charges, or they needed some favor from the DOJ, and they started cooperating with authorities. That is the extent of it. Now, the three people that they mentioned, they're not active anymore. I mean, they were active up until 2021, at the latest, early 2022. So whatever infiltration they had is no longer active. So pretty much this is... what they said in this news conference is out of date. And, they just basically announced new charges. And one of the issues here that, they can charge and, make all these indictments and announcements and everything. But really, Mexico's government in the last couple of years, especially since Lopez Obrador took office, has really been the biggest ally of the cartels. Just the way he disbanded the joint task forces, he basically handcuffed the DEA in Mexico. It's all being done, if you look at it from this way, it's being done to prevent U.S. authorities from actually going after some of the politicians and government officials that do protect drug cartels. I'll just remind you the case of General Cienfuegos. The man was arrested in the U.S., turned over to Mexico for prosecution. Actually, the U.S. had charges against him, but they actually let Mexico go first because AMLO asked for it nicely. Now, in the case of Cienfuegos, as soon as he got to Mexico, Mexico released him and said, "Apologies, General." Now, General Cienfuegos was the equivalent of the Secretary of Defense, the highest military official in Mexico at the time. So that just gives you an idea of how high these cartels go. Most recently we had the
Luna Garcia, right?
Yes, the man would be akin to the head of DHS. They were at that level. So if you have somebody at the level of a head of DHS and the head of, at the level of the SecDef working with these drug cartels, that gives you an idea of how deep they operate and how high their true power is. And their power is not just El Chapo and his gunmen. The power is the politicians, the judges, the banks, and pretty much everybody that gives them the true influence, not just the gunmen.
Well, to that point, Pancho, you mentioned the banking, and we sanctioned Russia when they invaded a sovereign nation. Is there anything the U.S. government can do to stop the banking or to sanction parts of Mexico or parts of the government of Mexico? Really hit them where it hurts, which would be their money.
Well, I mean, part of it has to do with the money laundering laws. When they deal with drug cartels or drug trafficking are different than when they deal with terrorism. They're a little bit stricter in terrorism. So, for example, if they were to declare certain drug cartels, not all of them, but certain drug cartels as foreign terrorist organizations, but I'm going about this not calling for an invasion or whatever. I'm saying on a white collar level, it would make it more difficult for the banks to move their money. Also, it would make it very difficult for politicians at the Mexican government to protect these drug cartels, because then Mexico could become a foreign sponsor of terrorism and face sanctions at the international level, as we've seen in other countries. I mean, this worked in Colombia when they dealt with Las FARC. So a white collar level approach with a foreign terrorism designation could actually do some real damage to these drug cartels.
But we're not going to do that, because let's get to the real reason here. Sanctions didn't work with Russia, right? You want to drive Mexico into the arms of Brazil. You want to shut down the flow of Ford Mach-E Mustangs and tomatoes and clothing and right? It's because it's money. Mm-hmm. It's money and what we're getting from the uniparty run by Biden, and if anybody wins, they're going to be the uniparty. Money, 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 and I'm getting theater. Right or wrong?
You're right. Pretty much all this, what they did this past week, it was just a theater. Nothing's going to change in the next few months, and we're going to just see it because the fentanyl is going to keep coming across. People are going to keep overdosing, and cartels are going to continue getting more powerful in Mexico. And that's the scary part, because the violence is reaching levels that hadn't been seen before.
Now we have Peter Meyer's no longer in Congress, Republican, Alyssa Slotkin. She's running for senator. She's a Democrat. They were both on the Homeland Security Committee. DHS, anybody been to the fucking border? You want to be what? Oh, this is just shit.
It's like they calling it in. Call the positioning.
Yeah, it's theater. And this guy, this dope here, see Pancho with the bad haircut? You know why his haircut's bad?
Why?
Because he doesn't make the money he deserves for telling the truth. But
the people who do the work and the people that are trying to make a difference never are compensated the way that those that push the can, kick the can, and kick the BS. It just doesn't happen.
I'm going to compensate him with a Coney kit.
You should do that.
I want to ask him right quick. Do you ever worry about your safety doing this the way you're doing it?
Well, I've been doing this for a very long time. And actually, the scariest situation I've had was actually in South Texas, not in Mexico. And I've been all over Mexico. You can name the worst cities in Mexico, and I've been there. And my scariest situation was actually in my hometown in South Texas.
Want to tell us what happened, Pancho?
Yeah, tell us what happened.
Well, a couple of years ago, my partner, best friend, co-worker, basically, technically he's my boss, but he's my best friend. We had just gotten our hands on some thermal cameras, and we went out to test out those cameras at the border, just to catch some illegal smuggling of drugs. And we went to this town in Brownsville, Texas. And I called a friend of mine who worked at a local TV station and said, "Hey, we have a new camera. Come out and play with us." So he got out of work, drove to meet us, but he had his work van that had the TV station logo. So he said, "Let me just park it here," and it was at a police substation. So he parked it in the parking lot of the substation. He got in our car, and then we went out there and tried to get some video, try to catch some people of smuggling using the thermal vision. We were out there for about 2 hours. When we were coming back, there was a group of individuals waiting for us in the parking lot. Wow. They basically, when we tried to get his vehicle, they started chasing us around town. And like I said, this was in the parking lot of a police substation.
So you mean somebody in the police substation let those guys know what you were doing?
Well, let's just say that these people felt very comfortable trying to get us in the parking lot of a police substation. I mean, granted, it was at nighttime, but still, they felt comfortable enough to try something there.
See?
Fuck. All of this is so slightly interchangeable with what we're dealing with
Exactly.
here.
Now
It really is.
Now you see the madness of the program today.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it really, really is.
All right. Pancho, thanks, brother.
Stay safe.
One last crime that we need to talk about today is that haircut of yours. If you're listening, you check us out on YouTube, No BS News Hour.
Just to see Pancho's hair.
Yeah, subscribe, click the notification bell, and definitely give us your comments. They're important to us. We want to know if this is important to you, and we will read them. Pancho, thanks. John, if you're there, thanks.
Thank you.
Oh, you're still there.
He's still there.
You asked him to stay.
Let that music play. What'd you think of what Pancho said, John? Do you see any similarities?
Well, obviously, whatever Pancho's dealing with on the other side of the border is a direct relation to what's happening in Detroit, all over the country. It's drugs. A lot of drugs and things like that, and that's what's making these people do what they do. It's like everybody has said, it's about the money. Follow the money. And another thing, can I ask Mr. Ortiz just one question about the border? Mr. Ortiz, what do you know about these bases that the cartels are making on mountaintops on just the other side of the border? You know anything about that?
I think, are you referring to the ones south of Arizona, where pretty much, pretty much they've been doing it for a long time. They basically have this kind of like check stations or refueling stations where they bring drugs or whatever they're smuggling. They have lookouts set up. They have provisions, food, water, and everything, so they can trek the desert. And that way they're able to move either around a canyon or in certain pathways where they're able to avoid detection by Border Patrol cameras or the drones. So they have these little stations deep into the country, and from Mexico into the country, because in places like Arizona, it's just not you cross the river. You have to cross the river and you have to cross parts of the desert. So that's where they've been doing that. These primarily for smuggling drugs and people.
Right.
And there you go. All right,
insane,
man. Huh? It's insane. And theater's not going to get it done.
No.
Do your fucking jobs. Talk to you guys.